So, hi guys, some people have come in, just figuring this out, make sure that we're on YouTube as well. Okay, so just give it a minute or so and see if other people are going to join us. Just figuring this out, make sure that we're on. Okay. Right, so I will get started. It's a bit strange not seeing faces. I'm used to teaching, seeing people's faces, so bear with me. But welcome everybody. So this is the second part of our 4-part free course that we're offering through the Birth Collective. I hope you enjoyed Brooke's session. I did last night. I thought it was really helpful. And tonight I'm going to be talking about hypnobirthing, giving you some key messages and hopefully some useful information, and some practical things you can take away and start doing at home straight away. We are live on YouTube as well, so hopefully there's some people tuning in that way, and I think we're going to save this to YouTube as well, so you can check in at a later date. There's a Q&A button down the bottom, so please do start sending your questions in, and we'll reach those towards the end. We have about an hour together. I'm going to try and whiz through the information so we have lots of time for questions, as I'm sure that's one of the reasons that you're tuning in. And just at the beginning, just to say, I'm sorry if I go a little vacant. I'm actually recovering from the coronavirus myself at the moment. I've had symptoms for just over a week. And my husband's also had it, so we've had a bit of a lousy couple of weeks, but it's a real honour to share information that we have with you this way, and we didn't want to let you down, so yeah, hopefully it's all going to be fine. But if I need to take a pause for a drink, then just bear with me. Okay, great. So those of you that don't know me, I'm Carrie. I'm one of the co-founders of the Birth Collective. I'm a midwife. I've been a midwife for over 10 years now, and I'm currently based on a busy labour ward, working on the front line during this crazy time. I'm a hypnobirthing teacher, and I teach antenatal classes as well. So I have a private offering that's in North London, but obviously now it's all virtual. Yeah, I'm also a mum of 2 crazy boys, so 14 days in lockdown has been pretty nuts. So yeah, hopefully they'll leave us alone, but we'll see. So yeah, let's get started. So hypnobirthing during a pandemic. This is our disclaimer. Obviously, I know Brooke went through it last night, but just to cover it again, we're healthcare professionals, but we're not your healthcare professionals. So anything that we cover in these sessions is not specific to you and your care. So please do seek advice if you're worried about anything to do with you and your baby. And it's generalized advice, and we're here to support you, really. I've kind of gone over this. So this is what I'm hoping to cover tonight. So what is hypnobirthing? So a little bit about what that is, how it would help you. And I want to spend some time talking about something called the fear, tension, pain cycle. And then we're going to have, we're going to think of some ideas of how we can release fear and gain confidence for birth. And then there'll be time for questions towards the end. So what is hypnobirthing? Now, I've been teaching hypnobirthing since 2014, and I still struggle now sometimes to explain and describe exactly what it is in like a really succinct way. And I think that's because it's different things to different people. And it is a lot of different things that when you put them together, like they're little things, but when you put them together, they make like a huge big deal on your birth experience. But ultimately, really, it's an antenatal education. So it's a way of preparing for birth. It will prepare you psychologically as well as physically. You're going to learn about the psychology and physiology of birth. So that mind body connection and why the mindset and having a positive mindset is so important to how your body actually births. And then there's lovely mindfulness and relaxation techniques that you will learn during hypnobirthing practice as well. Now, these three words at the side here are words that just over the years really are what I feel that hypnobirthing is really about. So the preparation side of things, hypnobirthing will, like I say, it helps you to prepare for birth. So it's like any other kind of form of antenatal classes or pregnancy yoga. It's a way of getting information about birth. So you can prepare for what to expect, what's it going to feel like, what's going to happen, what does your body do. So you're going to learn some anatomy and physiology. And then there's the connection side of things. So that's the opportunity to connect with yourself and your own worries about birth. There's the opportunity to connect with your baby. So it's going to give you sort of 10-15 minutes of the day to just like connect and respond to your baby and get to know your baby. And as midwives, we definitely talk about responsive parenting, so building relationships with your baby during pregnancy. So it's a chance to do that. And hypnobirthing really values the role of the birthing partner as well. So it's an opportunity to practice lovely relaxation techniques with your birth partner, and also helps the birth partner to prepare for birth emotionally as well and really understand what to expect. And then the relaxation, obviously you learn breathing techniques, massage techniques, and things, everything that feels very nice. Okay. Hopefully I see that Leah's logged on, so hopefully everything's okay. I'm just going to come out of here for 1 second and just make sure that everything is good. Okay, all looks great, lovely, perfect. So let's just go back here. Right. So the fear, tension, pain cycle. So this is really the heart of hypnobirthing. So it's the why, really, why you would learn about hypnobirthing. And the whole idea of it really was thought up by an obstetrician back in the 1920s called Dr. Grantley Dick Reed. He has a book that's called Childbirth Without Fear. It's a bit of a heavy read, but it's amazing, and a lot of the stuff in there is still relevant today, even though it was a long time ago that he wrote it. But he kind of hypothesized that when women are afraid during birth, that the blood flow will go away from the uterus, causing pain during labour. And we know since then that what he said is actually true. So this is whatever kind of hypnobirthing program that you do, and there are many out there. This is the kind of the centerpiece of what it's all about. So I really thought we could spend some time kind of understanding that this evening. And then just here I've got a quote by Ina May Gaskin, who's a midwife and a birth activist over in America. And she says, "We are the only species of mammal that doubts our ability to give birth. It's profitable to scare women about birth, but let's stop it. I tell women, your body is not a lemon." And there, right there is a good affirmation. Your body is not a lemon. Now, it took me a while to figure out exactly what the hell she was talking about. But a lemon is word for, normally it refers to a car, like a brand new car that's got faults with it. But you wouldn't know that it was faulty until after you bought it. So basically what she's saying is that your body is, it's not faulty. It knows what it's doing, and there is nothing to for us to think that like, why wouldn't our bodies just work for us the way that it works for every other mammal, basically. So I'll leave you thinking about that one. So let's take a closer look at the fear, tension, pain cycle. So you will have a copy of this picture in your downloadable PDF with this course. So this idea of fear, I mean, if I was to get you guys to just have a little think about words that, what are the first words that pop into your mind when you think about birth right now? I guarantee you that over half of you, the first word that you'd share would be, it's going to be painful. And then I want you to think about where that idea comes from. And it might be it's normally stories. Everyone wants to share stories with us. It might be our own previous experience, a previous birth that's led us to feel that way, our own experience. It might be just from the media, because most of the time on TV, birth is not really depicted as being pain-free or even enjoyable. So that think about where those ideas come from. But really, I think it's these ideas of kind of these seeds have been sown since very early on in our lives. So when I think back to being at school, I don't really remember being taught much about my body and birth and how it all works. And it might be that was a really long time ago now for me, but nothing stands out from education side of things. It might be that it was just irrelevant, so you just kind of block out what's irrelevant at the time. But then slowly over the years, you realise that you've been sort of drip fed quite a negative narrative about birth, and so it's not really surprising that most women go into birth feeling quite frightened about what it might be like. I've listed down some ideas anyway of where fear might come from. So fear of the unknown. So if you've not done this before, then of course there's always going to be that element of fear. Maybe it's having to give birth in a hospital. So hospitals as an environment are, generally it's where poorly people go. Although a lot of first-time parents will say that, they want to give birth in the hospital because just in case anything goes wrong, but it's still that kind of idea that, oh, hospitals are places where things might go wrong. So it might be that kind of environment that makes you feel a bit afraid. So maybe the last time you were in a hospital was not a very good experience, and so when you walk into the hospital when you're actually in labour, kind of that smell, the environment might actually act as a negative anchor and start kind of triggering some sort of fear. It could be certain procedures. I've had many clients that have used hypnobirthing techniques to help them with things like having blood tests done, and I can report that they said that it definitely helped them. So you can definitely, transfer these skills to other things. Um, it might be that you haven't got a very good rapport with the health professional. Now, I would hope that wouldn't happen, but we all meet people that we don't really click with, whether that's your midwife or your doctor. So, obviously that could kind of set a bit of a bad taste. Subconscious beliefs about birth. So that's a really big one. That is any of the kind of thoughts and beliefs that we have in our subconscious mind. So we've got a conscious and a subconscious mind. And there isn't enough time to go into the mind tonight, but just think of your subconscious is like a filing cabinet or a library of all the experiences that we've ever had, all of our beliefs, our memories. It's where our emotions are stored. It's where hormones are produced. And just think that you have this filing cabinet in there that's just for birth. So when you go into labour, your mind will start picking out information that it needs to kind of help you to get through the situation. So it will pick out all those things about birth that that you have. And it could be a change of location in labour. And there were scientific studies done on animals about that when they moved them during labour, it actually slowed down or stopped their labour. So there are a few ideas of where the fear might come from. Now, what happens in our body when we are afraid? So I'm just going to click down to my next slide and we'll come back to that one in a moment. So over here, we've got pictures of the uterus muscles. So you've got long muscles and you've got round muscles in the uterus. So the uterus is where your baby is growing at the moment, nice and happy. And what happens during labour is you have contractions or surges or waves, whatever you want to call them. And when you have your contractions, what happens is that your longer muscles pull up the rounder muscles in this sort of motion. So it actually thins the opening of the womb, the cervix, and it draws up the muscles around the bottom of the uterus around to the top, so that when you're fully dilated, you've got that powerful muscle at the top of the uterus to then push the baby down. So that's that's just very briefly about the uterus. But when we what happens in our body when we're afraid is we actually release a hormone called adrenaline. Now, we've all released adrenaline before. It triggers the fight, flight, or freeze response. And I'm sure we're probably triggering that a little bit too often at the moment, maybe around 5 p.m. when we're tuning into the coronavirus updates or something. But yeah, it's something that we trigger in modern day life way too often. Now, years and years ago, when we had really needed that primal instinct for fight, flight, or freeze, it's our survival response. So it's the body's way of saying, right, there's a danger and something is, could hurt us or kill us or eat us or whatever. And the body kind of puts you into this alert stress mode, which will then divert blood away from non-essential organs to the arms, the legs, the lungs, the heart, to the muscles that need a blood flow to be stronger, so that you can fight that danger or you can flee and run away from it. And of course, there's that rabbit in the headlights, which is freeze as well. That's that response. So what happens during fight, flight, or freeze is our heart rate, you get the heart racing, increases our blood pressure so it can pump the blood around quickly. The blood gets diverted, like I said, away from non-essential organs. So it will get diverted away from the uterus muscle during labour, and it causes muscle tension. And when we talk about muscle tension, what happens when you're in fight or flight? It's very clever, but you've got your spinal cord all down your spine. which goes up to the brain. So all of those muscles around your spine will clamp and tense around the spine. Your sacrum, which is down at the bottom of your spine, in your pelvis, that will actually tuck underneath and protect the bottom part of the spinal cord. Hunch up your shoulders, tense up your jaw. And there's actually a correlation between the jaw and the pelvic floor muscles. So if you've got a really tense jaw during labour, then you may have very tight pelvic floor, which doesn't give your baby much space or ability to rotate and move nice and easily during labour. So yeah, everything just gets very tense, and the uterus itself, which is having contractions. So think of labour as like a HIIT workout. You know, you're at the gym. It's not getting the fuel that it needs to do the job that it's designed to do. So it's not getting water, it's not getting glucose, it's not getting oxygen. And what happens is the uterus muscle itself starts to tense, it starts to build up lactic acid, and it may actually slow down your labour, but it will certainly make it feel more uncomfortable. And the other thing that adrenaline does is, because it's triggered by our stress system, it will suppress and lower down our birthing hormones, which are oxytocin and endorphins. Now, oxytocin is the love hormone, and it's the birth hormone. It's responsible for contractions. It plays a huge part in how we bond with our baby, a huge part in breastfeeding. And yeah, it helps the uterus muscles to contract. That's the main function of it during labour and birth. So if you are, suppressing those levels of oxytocin, then the contractions you're having are not going to be efficient enough to actually open up and dilate the cervix. So that's one way it can slow down labour. And endorphins, or beta endorphins, are our natural painkiller. And so yeah, we kind of want that during labour to make us feel a bit more comfortable. And they're known as the happy hormone. So they're produced in a different system in the body, so in the sort of the relaxed state. So you can't have high levels of oxytocin and endorphins and high levels of adrenaline. So if you're feeling very stressed and anxious and nervous and have high levels of adrenaline, you're going to have lower levels of the birthing hormones. So going back to our cycle here, so that's just in the middle there. So you've got adrenaline that's released, causing the fight or flight response. Oxytocin and endorphins are reduced, and the blood flow is diverted away from the uterus, and you've got all this tension in the muscle fibers, which then causes pain, causes the labour to be uncomfortable. Now, of course, when you're thinking about pain, it's a spectrum of pain. We all experience sensations in a different way. Some of us may have been described as having a really high pain threshold, and others, complete wuss. So what that tells us is that we all experience things differently, that's all. And there are other factors other than fear that can increase pain during labour, and I've noted those down here. So holding your breath, fatigue, so if you're very tired, dehydrated, your position or your baby's position. So it's quite a few different variables that could influence what sensations you feel during labour. But the premise is that if you're in this cycle, if you start off with feeling pain, then you're going to feel more afraid, and then when you're afraid, you trigger the release of adrenaline, and that causes you to be tense, and that causes more pain. So wherever you kind of are in the cycle, you just end up going round and round in circles, and eventually it might actually impact your birth, as in slow it down, or maybe even start causing some distress to your baby, because your baby won't be getting the oxygen and things that it needs as well. So is really kind of the heart of hypnobirthing, and why using the hypnobirthing techniques are so important to get you out of that cycle and into one that is way more calming, which we're going to kind of talk about in a moment. But this is just a little activity I thought that maybe you could try and do. So think about the worries that you've got about birth at the moment. Now, I'm sure it's obviously a really uncertain time to be having a baby. My heart goes out to all of you, but please know that all the maternity services are working like really, really hard to give you safe and enjoyable birth experiences. But yeah, so think about the worries that you've got about birth, and it can be birth and having the baby and after the baby, parenthood, whatever it is. Sit down with your birth partner and make a list, each. I'm sure your birth partner has concerns as well. So make a list and then talk them through. And it sounds like something that's really simple, and perhaps you're already doing that anyway, but if you're not, then it's a really, really good exercise to do. And as you talk through them, just try and find a way to release those fears, anxieties, worries that you've got. Now, you could do a simple mindfulness technique where you close your eyes, visualize those worries, imagine putting them onto maybe a cloud or something. And then as you take some nice deep breaths, your breath would blow those worries away. So it could be something like that. And in our course, we do, I've recorded an MP3. There's 3 MP3s actually, but one of them is a fear release with a guided relaxation on a beach, which kind of helps you to do just that. But there's lots of, you don't need to kind of listen to an MP3 if you don't want to. Another way could be to go through your list, have a nice pencil, pen, and just scratch through, draw a line through or scribble it out when you've maybe found a solution for that worry. Another way could be, if you want something a bit more significant, you could scrunch up the paper and throw it away. But yeah, just kind of have a little think about ways that you could release and get rid of those worries. And then you want to think about creating like a bank of positivity for birth. So going back to thinking about the subconscious mind and as a filing cabinet or a library. So kind of like go back thinking about that, and you want to create a library of positivity about birth. So that could be seeking out positive birth stories is a really great way of doing that. And there's so many online, blogs, social media accounts. So find things that are really positive, and there's loads out there. All hypnobirthing teachers have content that is positive and supportive. Watching positive birth stories. So again, there's lots of birth photographers, videographers out there that have put their content available for free online, Instagram, Facebook. If you just kind of Google birth photographers, you'll come up with their websites, and a lot of the stuff's on there. Yeah, looking at positive photography as well is another way. So you're just sort of thinking about replacing kind of those ideas that you have about birth already with new ideas about birth, so that when you do come to labour, you've got kind of other things to choose from other than your preconceived ideas that birth is going to be kind of awful and traumatic and dramatic and whatever it is that you might currently be thinking that it is. And then practicing relaxation. So there's never been a better time than the situation that we're in now to practice relaxation techniques. And And there's, if you're someone that's kind of like not very good, I mean, for me, I have to try quite hard for relaxation techniques, even though I'm, you know, a hypnobirthing teacher. But personally, you know, I'm a very busy person, and so to try and carve out time can be challenging. But hopefully, at the moment, if there's one positive thing that's come out of it, is most of us have more time at home. So carving out some time, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, as much as you want to give to it, to practice breathing techniques, a guided relaxation. Lots of hypnobirthing teachers have free guided relaxations on their websites, or on YouTube. There's loads as well. Massage techniques, again, go to YouTube and, you know, get your birth partner to learn some massage techniques. If they end up not being with you during labour, it doesn't matter, you can still benefit from the wonderful massages they can give you during pregnancy leading up to labour. A simple breathing technique, so to try and get you out of the fear, tension, pain cycle, whether that's going to happen, you know, happening during pregnancy or during labour, one of the quickest and easiest ways of getting out of it and to stop adrenaline in its tracks is to simply just breathe. And you want to make sure that your exhale breath is longer than your inhale. So this is a really simple technique that you can do, and it's breathing in for the count of 4 and breathing out for the count of 8. And when you breathe in, we recommend breathing in through your nose. And when you breathe in through your nose, you want to take quite a deep breath as if you're smelling flowers. So, you know, a decent breath. So you're really filling your lungs. And when you fill your lungs, you want to imagine that your lungs are completely expanding and your abdomen is expanding. So it's more like belly breathing, which can be quite tricky when you've got a baby bump there. But it could be useful to maybe place a hand on the top of your baby bump, just to, when you're taking that nice inhale, that you can feel your hand rising on your belly, and then you'll know that you've really filled those lungs. So it's a nice deep breath in to the count of 4 through your nose, and then breathing out through your mouth for the count of 8. And if that feels like it's too long, you can change the counts if you want to. You could have breathing in for 3 and out for 6, or breathing in for 4 and out for 7. As long as the out breath is longer, you're going to trigger the relaxation response, and that helps lower your blood pressure, lower your heart rate, and calm you down. And when you're calm, you're going to be releasing oxytocin, the love hormone. You're going to be releasing endorphins, your happy hormone, and be more in that cycle of relaxation and calmness. So when it comes for the counting, it is quite slow. So it's almost like seconds, to give you a bit of a guide. So if I sort of just count you through, just so you know, kind of, you can then visualize kind of how slow to do it. But you breathe in, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it's quite slow. Now, you don't have to have anyone counting for you in labour if you don't want to, but it could be a really hypnotic thing to help kind of get you focused on your breathing. So birth partners, if you're finding that she's kind of lost the plot a little bit, needs to be kind of calmed down and supported a bit more, then you could suggest, I'm going to count for you, and you could do 4 or 5 rounds of the counting, and that's roughly the length of a contraction during the established part of labour. So it's a good one to use for during contractions, but you can use this technique anytime that you're feeling anxious. And I would recommend that you would practice this technique at least, you know, a couple of times a day. So when you first wake up in the morning, the last thing you do before you go to bed, and any time in between that you're feeling yourself just getting a bit carried away with everything that's going on at the moment, and you just need to sort of center and come back to yourself. So this is the kind of the cycle that hypnobirthing wants to kind of promote. We want you to be feeling confident, and with confidence, you're going to get that by well, we're going to come on to that in a moment, but it's the more you learn information, will help you to build confidence and release fear. You're going to have techniques that you learn in hypnobirthing that help you to stay calm. And those things will help you to stay comfortable. Now, there's lots of C's, things beginning with the letter C in hypnobirthing. Control is a really good one, as in, when you're feeling calm, you're feeling more in control, and losing control during pregnancy and birth can be something that it's quite difficult for some women. So losing that control over your body, maybe you've lost control over how well you sleep at night time. If you having to get up regularly, go to the toilet, can't get a good position. And then obviously during labour, some women worry about kind of losing control during that, especially with what's going on at the moment. And yeah, communication is another C that comes up. So learning how to communicate your wishes with your healthcare professionals, communicating with your partner so that you're like the ultimate team during birth and parenthood. So yeah, there's quite a few C's. So confidence, so ways you're going to build confidence. So please do attend some form of antenatal preparation. So obviously we are doing this one as a freebie, and a lot of antenatal educators are offering similar things. So there's a lot of stuff online at the moment that you could access for free. It could be that you do a group course or a private one-to-one. So the main difference is going to be price, to be honest. But yeah, if you want to kind of get to know other parents, then there's a lot of virtual group offerings out there. There's online self-learning courses. So like our course is over 7.5 hours of content that you can learn at your own pace and watch it as many times as you want, which I think is really useful and flexible. And there's books. There's loads and loads of books on having a baby. So I'd recommend that you get a book specifically for hypnobirthing. There's loads out there. I currently use the Your Baby, Your Birth by Holly de Cruz. I think that's a really great book. It's really good for all births. But I really enjoy the Positive Birth book by Millie Hill. That kind of prepares you for all kinds of different births. And there's lots of, I think the Modern Midwife on Instagram, she just brought out a book about pregnancy and birth as well. So, and that's brand new. So it's, simply reading books could be really, really helpful as well. But if you can attend some sort of course or something that just gives you a bit more to consolidate your learning. Writing flexible birth preferences. So I did a post the other day about how to write a flexible birth plan. And this is if you're someone that needs to make a plan for a plan, this would be a really good one for you to do. And much like sitting down and talking through the things that are worrying you and crossing through them, making plans for the things that are worrying you. So what if your birth partner develops a temperature and can't be with you? Is there somebody else that you can call to be your backup birth partner? What if you have symptoms? There's lots of advice you can read on the Royal College, the RCOG website for all the up-to-date advice of what's going on there. So it's kind of just going through things like the what ifs, and that will give you a bit more confidence because you're yeah, I've got a plan. You don't need to focus on it, but you've got your plan that if that does happen, then yeah. Calmness, so relaxation techniques. So hypnobirthing will help you with breathing techniques, massage techniques. We've covered aromatherapy in our course, how to use that safely. Guided relaxations, so it's kind of like hypnotherapy for birth. doing things that help you to relax and make you happy. So just a couple of ideas like warm baths and good food. They're things that you can do to help you stay calm at any point, but also tools that you can use during labour. And then exercise will help you to release endorphins, your happy hormone. So any sort of gentle movement, yoga, for pregnancy is great. And there's also a fantastic website called Spinning Babies, which I think more than ever now you need to be thinking about helping to get your baby into a good position, because more likely than not, we're spending quite a lot of time sat down at home at the moment through no fault of our own. But Spinning Babies will give you really good techniques of how to help your baby get into a good position. And Leah is going to be doing a yoga session for you, I think, on Friday evening. So that's something that you can look forward to. And then comfort. So this is what's going to help you be comfortable during labour. If you're confident and you're calm, you're going to have all those lovely birthing hormones, and the uterus is going to get the blood flow it needs. It's going to be able to perform its function comfortably, and other things you can do to make yourself feel more comfortable in labour. So eating and drinking, moving around, focusing on relaxation, staying warm, resting, and of course, breathing. And your birth environment. So again, we've done a post on this recently on Instagram. Think about the things that you might need to buy or prepare to help you to create a relaxing birth space. So it may be that your hospital, you might need to go to a labour ward and you were planning on going to a birth centre. So a labour ward isn't set up for physiological birth as much as a birth centre, or of course being at home. So thinking how you can make your birth environment calm, private, dimly lit, just thinking about how other mammals give birth really, and think about your senses, so things you want to see and hear. Labour wards can be quite noisy, they obviously smell like hospitals, so think about all the things you might want to do to kind of help change up your environment to make you feel more comfortable and relaxed. So before we go to questions, just in summary, so fear triggers the release of stress hormones that can make your labour longer and more painful. Hypnobirthing techniques will help you to build confidence and release fear. There are loads of options available to learn hypnobirthing, and like I said, we've included a module in our online course, and focus on building a bank of positivity about birth. So focus on the things that you can control, focus on changing your mindset, because you're in control of how you feel about things, and practicing regular relaxation techniques. So here's just our website, and obviously you, if you didn't know already, you know now that we've got the code Positive Birth, which will give you 30% off. And I'll come out of this now and have a look and see if we've got any questions. So let's have a look here. Right, so thank you so much for your questions, by the way. So is it better to learn hypnobirthing through a course, or is learning completely by yourself just as good? Oh, and thank you. Hope you recover and feel better soon. Thank you so much. It's been a tough couple of weeks. So I think if you can, I think it's better to learn through a course. The reason for that is statistically we take on more by kind of attending something than just sort of like just reading, but they also say that like a course you only take on 40% maybe of what you learn, so you're only going to do the course once. So that's where kind of online courses come in really useful, because you can go back over and watch videos and things over and over again, so they're kind of like that happy medium. So I would suggest that you do either an virtual in-person course that are out there now, or you look at doing some sort of online video course that you can look over again and again. You can get so many benefits from reading a book. and teaching yourself, of course you can. And a lot of the books give you activities and things to do. The books will come with downloadable MP3s and things to support you. So it's a really affordable way of practicing hypnobirthing, actually. So yeah, and the nice thing, if you can afford to do like a private course, then of course you're getting sort of that one-to-one attention that's specific to your fears and your worries and your situation. And you have the opportunity to kind of get in touch with the teacher and have ongoing support as well, which is kind of why you pay that extra fee for that. Can hypnobirthing help after a traumatic first birth which resulted in baby loss? Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry to hear that. Actually, like one of my main roles at the trust where I work at the moment, I'm involved with the bereavement team. And it's a very kind of strange role. I wish that we never had to have it, but I'm very passionate about supporting women to have kind of a good experience when it comes to like going through something so awful. Hypnobirthing will absolutely help you if you've had a traumatic first experience. It will teach you that there's like a different way to birth. It will give you new tools and techniques to help you to release fear. Because of course you're going to be holding on to, and quite rightly so, all of those thoughts and feelings from your first experience. So it might help you to sort of release some of those so that it doesn't sort of hijack your next experience. But yeah, I mean, absolutely, it will help anybody. Anybody that's pregnant, hypnobirthing is very, very helpful. And I wish you well with that. Hey, Carrie, thank you so much for this. Where did you say the MP3s were? Also, do you have any advice on breathing techniques during labour? Okay, so MP3s, we haven't included them with this free course, but we have 3 MP3s included in our antenatal main course. There is a sort of more like a body scan, guided relaxation, a fear release, and positive affirmations. And positive affirmations, actually, I forgot to mention, but they're positive statements. And with regards to labour and birth, they're positive statements about birth. And they're just sort of like empowering statements to help you change your mindset. So reading those out to yourself, sticking them all around your house can be like a really great way of instantly changing how you feel about something. So, but yeah, you can, there's loads of free ones online. If it's something that people are interested in, then perhaps I can look at doing something specific for this course. I'd be happy to do that. Do you have any advice on the breathing techniques? So breathing, when it comes to breathing during labour, a breathing technique, the one thing I want you to take away, a breathing technique should be relaxing. It should feel good and feel relaxing and help calm you down and feel good. So there's no point getting stressed about, oh, I've got to remember this breathing technique, or oh, the course says that this is the technique I have to use during my contractions, and oh God, I can't do it, I'm failing, and then you don't bother. So it's about finding a technique that feels good for you. But ultimately, it's just going to be about lengthening the out breath. So just remembering that that's what stimulates the relaxation response. So it's good to breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth, because in through the nose helps you to take the breath in slowly. Breathing out through the mouth helps you to relax your jaw, which will help to relax your pelvic floor muscles. But if you want to breathe in and out through your mouth, in and out through your nose, if that feels better for you, that's fine. You might want to add a visualization to the breath. So maybe some people visualize waves coming in and out on the beach. You could think about a door frame. So the shorter part of the door you breathe in, and the longer part you breathe out, and sort of just follow the door frame around. So yeah, just sort of, or just simply just focus on the breathing. So remember, but having your hand just on the top of your baby bump, close your eyes, and then just take some nice, slow, deep breaths. That is, all you need to know. And when it comes for breathing for the birth, you just keep on breathing. The uterus muscles are still working. You will naturally, if you don't have an epidural, you will naturally know when to push, and you will your breath will pause and work with you when it comes to pushing. So unless you're being advised to hold your breath and push, you don't need to do that. But yeah, there's loads of breathing techniques in hypnobirthing. Please can you go through the breathing exercises for the early and active stages of labour? So I guess that's kind of just what I was saying. You just want to focus on breaths that are calming and relaxing. So they're deep breaths where you're filling your lungs, you're filling your abdomen, you're giving your baby lots of space, you're giving the uterus lots of oxygen, and you're lowering your blood pressure and staying calm. You can carry on using the same breathing technique throughout. So once you've found one, kind of stick to it. There's a really good one actually in yoga called the golden thread breath. So you would breathe in through your nose, and then you breathe out through really gently parted lips, as if you've got like a piece of tissue paper just between your lips. And you breathe out and imagine that there's this golden thread that's coming out of your mouth, and you're blowing it away really slowly and gently. A lot of women like that one. And yeah, so you can just use whatever you want really that makes you feel relaxed. If my birth partner can't come in labour, can I ask the midwife for help with some of my techniques? Yes, oh my goodness, please do. And when you do go in, when you're in labour, I always recommend it's worth asking if there is a midwife trained in hypnobirthing, just anyway, outside of a pandemic. Because they can obviously really help you and support you. A lot of midwives are trained in hypnobirthing now. I mean, it's the dream one day that it would be available to everybody just on the NHS, and it's just like standard education. But until we get there, we're just doing things like this. But yes, please, your midwives, like one of our main roles is being with women, and I think over the years, as birth partners and doulas, or two birth partners, and midwives maybe just take a step back and don't get to do that kind of the massage, the support, the encouragement as much as we would like to, as we kind of allow the birth partners to do that. So absolutely, they would be really, really excited to be helping you. And obviously we're all aware of what's going on at the moment, and we're here to support you. What kind of things would be acceptable, good to bring with me onto the ward for making my environment more relaxing and familiar? Okay, so think about your 5 senses when it comes to the environment. So things that you want to see. If you're on a ward, it's quite tricky to dim lighting. So I would maybe suggest taking like an eye mask that you could block out any of the lights. And then when it comes to going to your actual room, because you'll have a private room when you're in labour, when you're in established labour, most of those rooms have dimmable lighting. Or you could take in some little battery operated tea lights, battery operated fairy lights. They change the room and make it look so beautiful. So you could also put up some affirmations. So you could design your own, you can buy cards, download them, whatever. And you can of course stick those up all around the room on the wall, that would be fine. Things that you want to hear, so take your own playlist in. Some hospitals will have speakers for you, but you might want to take your own little mini speaker. Take some headphones for when you're on the ward, because it might not be appropriate to sort of blast out your tunes. But yeah, you might want to block out other people's stuff, so putting your headphones in or earplugs just to block everything else out is a good idea. With regards to smells, this is actually my favourite thing that I've always used in my classes. So this is Neil's Yard Calming Room Spray, and it's a favourite. I can't see that anyone would have any objections to someone spraying something like this, but double check with your midwife when you're on the ward. Obviously, when you're in your own room, it's going to be easier to use things like this, but always check with your midwife if you're going to use any oils, just to make sure that nobody who's in the room has any allergies to anything that you might be using. Take loads of snacks. So that's something that has definitely changed recently. The provision that's in the hospital of coffee shops and restaurants, most of those are closed or only open to staff. So it's worth taking more snacks than you might have planned to. So think about taking, I've been on this because I've not had very good appetite with this illness. But yeah, flat isotonic drinks, coconut water, bottles of water, a bottle with like a straw is really, really good. Helps you to relax all your jaw muscles. It's easy to drink during labour. Nice things to wear. So it's important to stay warm during labour. So thick socks. If you want to take a dressing gown, that's fine, but they take up quite a lot of space. So you might want to take something like a hoodie instead, because it's something you can wear to and from the hospital, and also wear it in labour if you wanted to. But if you're a bit kind of worried about wearing something from outside in the birthing room, then you could bring something different that you can pack in your suitcase. If you're going to use a pool, then swimming costume if you want one, maybe a nice thick towel. So yeah, they're just a few kind of ideas, but anything, to be honest, anything goes to make it more relaxing and familiar. I'd recommend taking a pillow from home. I took my own duvet with me in labour, so it depends how much hands space you have, how much you can be bothered to take with you, but you can take whatever you want. Not a question, but just a very big thank you. I found this very helpful. Oh, thank you so much. I'm so glad. I was quite nervous, a big group of people. Where can we find your flexible birth plan? This has been really helpful. Oh, I'm so glad. Thank you so much. So on Instagram, I did a post about writing a flexible birth plan, but maybe I can... I think we've included something about a birth plan. If we haven't, then we'll definitely get this added on, because I think it's really important to do. Oh, good. And this has been fantastic. Thank you. So yeah, if are there any more questions at all? Anyone wants to write anything? It's very strange not having the feedback from people that I'm used to. Thank you so much. Oh, good. So yeah, really, I guess just try to focus on staying calm and relaxed and boosting like all the lovely hormones that you can for labour and birth. There's nothing like relaxation doesn't feel bad, so it's always going to make it feel better. Carve out some time every day to practice. So whether you do this 1 hour webinar that just introduced you to the concept of hypnobirthing, or you did a 12-hour weekend course that you paid hundreds of pounds for, it comes down to how much you put into it and invest time-wise afterwards. So it's really important to practice, because a lot of it is to do with positively reinforcing new ideas in the mind. So in order to do that, you need to repeat, and it needs to become habit, and you need to practice and do it often for you to believe it. And you need that kind of bank of positivity, like I'm saying. So use this time that you're at home to seek out positive stuff about birth. Spend time, having dates with your partner at home. Cook each other nice meals, batch cook meals for the freezer for after your baby is here. Practice breathing techniques, massage techniques, listen to mindfulness tracks. All of those things are going to help you to stay calm through everything that's going on and all that uncertainty. And just know that, a few weeks ago, people were coming to hypnobirthing because they were nervous and scared about birth anyway. So the fact that we're in this pandemic, it's another thing to navigate, but you're going to be absolutely fine. And I wish you all a very positive birth. So yeah, I guess we'll end it there. Any questions, you can email me, Carrie at thebirthcollective.org, and you can also message me on Instagram as well. You can find me through the Birth Collective page, and I'd be more than happy to answer any of your questions and signpost you to information as you need. But I wish you all well and take care.